always look beautiful.
Yeah, we do that. We do that. Ah,
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me, Goddess Rhonda, and of course, our beautiful co-host, Goddess Star.
hi, everyone. Good to be here, and blessed Mabon and autumn equinox to you all.
Ditto. And
Yeah,
we are so, we still have all those energies going, and there's a lot of things going on, but we made it, and we apologize for our lateness, but there were some things that we had to do. So anyway, tonight we're going to be discussing those blocks that seem to hold us back from all the wonderful things that we're trying to achieve in life. But as always, before we begin, we like to cast a circle of protection around us. It's my lighter. There it is. For a second there.
You thought, wow, where's my lighter?
Where's my lighter?
Yeah.
All righty.
Yes. All right.
All hail, our lords and ladies of the East, our brothers and sisters, our brother and patron, the sacred element of air, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you. So it is, so mote it be.
So it is, and so would it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the South, my brothers and sisters, my brother and patron, the sacred element of fire. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge you, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is. So mote it be.
So it is, so mote it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the West, our brothers and sisters, our sister and patron, the sacred element of water, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you. So it is, so mote it be.
So it is, and so mote it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the North, my brothers and sisters, my sister and patron, the sacred element of earth. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge you, please cause a barrier of protection to all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is. So mote it be.
So it is, so mote it be. And we now have the divine light from the sacred source of all well-being and fill all of our spaces with peace and protection always. So it is, so mote it be.
So it is, and so mote it
Alrighty, so let's start talking about those blocks that seem to hold us back because a lot of people will try to find that new boyfriend or girlfriend or find that new job or get out of debt or buy a home or whatever it is that you're trying to do, and it just seems like all of your efforts may not be working very well. So we're going to talk about blocks that can stop you, either astrological blocks or mental blocks, emotional blocks. There's all kinds of blocks. You can't just really define it to one thing. So we're going to break some things down. And of course, we always love to hear from you in our chat room. If you are on the computer, I know that it is to the right of the screen. But if you're on a phone or a tablet, I'm not sure. So you may have to scroll down or move it around to find the chat room. But oops, I just went in there and didn't mute myself. There we go. And so if you can find the chat room, that would be great because we would love to hear, what blocks you may be facing so we can possibly help you out with this. Or if you have your own suggestions on how to remove blocks, we are always happy to learn. We're always open.
Yes.
Star?
Absolutely, because no matter what anyone likes to think, a lot of priestesses or elders think that you cannot learn from a newbie, but you can. We can
Yes,
all learn from everybody. There's wisdom everywhere to be gained. It's just a matter of if you're open to it.
and it's
So,
very true. Very true. You know what
yeah,
I found about, like, especially if you're a recent convert, it's like any other spirituality. If your family has been, I'm just going to say Christian because that's, what I was raised in. And, you
yeah,
go to church and all the time and you just kind of go with whatever your parents told you. It's always the new converts who are eager and they learn new stuff and new things and read new passages. And so they actually, because they're new at this and now they're doing a lot of research, whereas you may have been doing the same thing for the past 20 years, they can, now
yeah.
really teach you some things or at least open doors to new research that you may not have thought of. So let's all give a big round of applause to the newbies who help us because
Absolutely,
learn.
absolutely.
We learn from you guys too, and we love learning, as we have said a million trillion times.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the different kinds of blocks and how to get over them. So I'm just going to start off with astrological transits, only because a lot of people don't take a look at that. And I've counseled people that have come to me and said, oh my God, the past 3 years have just been, this and that and the other thing. And I'll say, well, what's your sign? And let's just say, for example, they'll say, oh, I'm a Sagittarius. Well, I can say, well, for the past 3 years, you've had Saturn in Sagittarius, which is a very challenging and very trying time. And it can be very frustrating because Saturn forces you to work on what you need to work on. And if that's not what you want to work on and you resist, things can go bad. But it's going to be ending this November. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'll be like, oh my goodness, it started, I'll say, look up the dates. And it's like, oh, it started here and blah, blah, blah. So at least they know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. They know they need to work with Saturn instead of fighting, and then things can get better. Or you can be like me, for example. Let's just say you're tired of dealing with financial issues. I have Uranus and I know a lot of people saying it's pronounced Uranus. For some reason, I say Uranus. Maybe it's from my past life, and I'm sticking to it. And Uranus doesn't mind, so there you go. But anyway, I digress. I have Uranus in the second house. The second house is your house of wealth, of possessions, and Uranus is the planet of instability. So it's either feast or famine. Either I'm flush, or I'm like eating out of the Dollar Tree if I have no money. And so I had to learn now to work with Uranus. I do offerings and candles. And now, he helps to smooth the way. Because don't forget, each planet represents a deity. And so when you're making offerings and saying, hey, look, Uranus, I need your help with this, dude. I can't be like this. I need you to help me to find stability or show me what I need to do and make those candles and offerings to him every day, then things will calm down. So at least you can take a look at if there is an astrological reason for what is going on with you. Our astrology charts aren't the challenging parts of our astrology charts aren't here to make us miserable. It's because we are here to learn soul lessons based on those specific categories. And if you understand what those lessons are and work with them, then you should be just fine. But if you don't understand those lessons, you could be like, oh my goodness, let's take Aries. Got to start, you're an Aries, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
You have had, all Aries out there have had Uranus and Aries for the past 7 years. And so that's about to come to an end now and next May. It's actually already starting to fade away, but you may have found that the last 7 years have been very turbulent. That things you've tried to do didn't work out. People just disappeared in your life or betrayed you. Jobs that you had a 20-year seniority on, poof, gone. Whatever Uranus doesn't feel you need to be doing, he just takes it away and he does not consult you. So, for example, when Uranus was in Pisces, and I had been a mortgage underwriter for over 20 years, the mortgage industry died. I mean, literally, my life came to a grinding halt. I lost everything and had to rebuild from scratch. And a lot of that was because I was very resistant to change. And so Uranus had no choice but to kick my ass. I'll say it, you know, he kicked my ass. Because I kept saying, no, 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 and holding on to the past, and it was a tug of war, and he won. He won, but I'm glad because that is what actually brought me into being a full-time public witch, psychic, and healer. So, which is what I'm supposed to be doing anyway. I was supposed to be stuck in the banking industry, but I held on to it because I wanted the money that came with it. And so if you
stability. Stability.
Exactly, stability. You know, you want that. And that's also what you're taught growing up. You know, you work hard and you save your money and you do this, you have a stable income. And so I was very resistant to change, and he had to literally beat me into the ground, took everything until I had no choice but to rely on my own psychic and healing skills to make a living for myself. And that's brought me to where I am today. And so if you're going through really horrible trials with whatever, you know, in whatever category that you're going through, maybe you have a Saturn affliction with your love life, it could be all kinds of things. The point is that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And if you know what planet, AKA deity, is doing this or causing this, you can do spells like candles to those planets or deities to help you to mitigate whatever it is. My astrologer said because of a Pluto transit, I said, you know, you're probably going to be chasing money all your life. And so I used to say, oh my God, I'm going to be chasing money all my life. And I used to say that, I'm going to be chasing money, I'm going to be chasing money. And guess what happened? I'm chasing money. Why? Because I kept saying that. Not because I said, hey, you know what, Pluto, let's work this out. Let's cut a deal here, okay? You know, what can I do? But in my head, because he said that, I just had this cycle of, you're going to be chasing money. You're going to be chasing money. And of course, then I created that reality for myself.
Yeah, of course.
So, you understand that, right, Goddess Star?
Absolutely. We are our own blockage. We create our own blockages. It's just, you know, and I think a lot of them forget that we are magical beings. And because we are, we can create whatever it is that we're saying to ourselves, especially not so much to other people as much as doing it to ourselves. We tend to do more magical damage to ourselves than to other people, because you can keep repeating something about someone else over and over that you want to punish or whatever the reasonings are. And it's not going to quite work out that way, because that person is at their own free will, and as a magical being can decide, I am not going to allow any adversity to be in my way and all these different things. So they're working on themselves. I'm either beating yourself up for not being able to accomplish it or whatever else it is. And you tend to be, as that magical being, you tend to be your biggest blockage. You create that downward spiral. You create that entire depth, literally, of your depression. You mull around in it, and you literally, a lot of them, I hate to say the word, some of them actually sit in it and wallow around in this whole depression, and they don't take themselves out of it. And just like Goddess Rhonda just said, she kept saying, I'm going to be chasing money.
Yes.
Depressed. So if you say you're anxious, so you say a bunch of other different things that you can say, then that's exactly, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be dealing with a lot of things that you can blame everyone and everything in your life. But really, you did that to yourself. I have found that over the years. I mentioned people coming and going. That has happened, and betrayals and different things with Aries. And yes, and a lot of it, they either blamed on me or other things around them, and not on themselves. And the entire time I'm watching them and telling them that you need to stop thinking in that negative manner that you've been thinking in, and they just stay there. And I think in some ways, to a lot of them, I think it's comforting, because they're accustomed to it. They know how to deal with that, and they have a reasoning and almost like a medical thing to it as to why they're in that. They put a name to it. They label it. They hold on to it. And almost like they're proud of it, wearing it as a badge of honor. It's not. And that right there, Rhonda, is one of their biggest blockages.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I don't even know how to express it and explain to you how much get out of your way, literally out of your own way, and deal with life and deal with things head on. And yes, magically speaking, as well as in the mundane world. You gotta the thing about witches or any magical being, whatever you call yourself, you cannot dwell in either world. You have to keep a foot in both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly cannot live in the magical realm the entire time, and in planet Earth you don't get anything done, because that's neglectful. So you have to learn how to balance out your life and stick your feet in both ends of it, so you can be a balanced human being in this realm, on this planet, and deal with both things that you have to deal with. That despite the adversities that both Goddess Rhonda and myself have had with Uranus, or however you wish to pronounce Uranus, however, we've actually dealt with it and just said, basically, I'll take it on. Come get me. I'll take you on, and then some. I'll find a way around you one way or the other. Yes, sometimes we chose the hardest way to get over them, and it didn't help us in that little sense, but we're not ones to sit there and wallow in that depression, because we, honestly speaking, I know you keep hearing us saying it all the time, we really don't have the time for it. Don't have the time to be sick, don't have the time to be too tired, we don't have the time for it. So if we don't have the time for it, our headspace is not going to sit there and wallow in it. We're not going to allow it, because world, we've created this thing of where we really don't have the time to deal with letting blockages hold us back, or allowing ourselves to keep ourselves back. But there is a lot more, and I'm gonna kind of pass it over to you for a bit to see, because there's as you keep going, we always have this thing of where we come up with so many things,
Yes,
that we can think of helping. And I don't know, are we going to do it where we say what the blockages are and then we deal afterwards with some of the things that would help, or are we going to just talk about the blockages first, and then right after say something to help? What would you think?
I think it's good to talk about it and then say right after what would
Okay.
help, instead of
So,
going back.
right. So what some of the things, like I said, I think you're not going to be us. We all have to be ourselves. Don't become Goddess Rhonda and myself. I would suggest come to be the best possible you. That's one of the things. Learn to really keep yourself balanced between your magical life and your mundane life. When you are applying for a job, this is just as an example. If you are applying for a job and you are the one that has been holding yourself back all this time, for whatever reason, I don't have money to go to buy clothes to go. I don't have this. I don't. Stop with the I don't. And how about I do have a pair of shoes that I could, tidy up a bit and make it work until I get a paycheck. I do have so and so and so. I'm a glass full, half full kind of person. I rarely do the glass half empty kind of thing. Actually, I don't even know if I ever say it. I have a tendency to be so and so happened, but you know what? We got this. So we can do something with this. So start to look at things as not, because half the time that's what you are doing when you are giving yourself all those blockages. You are basically living that half empty glass. And I want you to start deciding mentally, I am not going to allow that. I do not have the time to wallow there and keep myself there. I literally want to accomplish something. So not just that green candle for employment or whatever color you see best to go for that job, but I'm also going to work on what am I going to dress like for that interview, to present myself at. Have I learned a craft or whatever it is that I have to learn to apply for that job with? Present yourself, do that glamour magic. Dress up and be that professional that wants to, whatever the job entails, and see yourself already there, because that's what you're supposed to do. Don't sit back and wait for it to be handed to you, because I got to tell you, a lot of the millennials, I see that they're very much entitled, and they think that things should just basically come to them a certain way. No, you have to work that way. And maybe in a way, our generation of people, because not see it as an entitlement, we went out and because we fought for it and held on to it, maybe that's to our advantage. use your entitlement to your advantage. I'm entitled to that job, so I'm going to get it. You know, use what you have and work with it. Light that Greek candle. Again, you know, do the glamour magic and go out there, look forward, step forward and say, I am going to have that job. See yourself in that job and already doing it. So you're getting a bit of a both of the magical part and the mundane. Okay. And if it's a business, I would suggest please plan it accordingly. If it's a business, when you and people are doing businesses, I know I'm kind of going on more than I thought I was going to go on, but I find this happens a lot. If you're doing a business and you're doing a job, they're two different things. For a job, you're working for someone, so you're at their discretion of things that they want done. When you are self-employed, that word self means that you're running the show. So you cannot sit back and treat it like a job. If you get sick or if anything happens, you're self-employed. That means whatever happens, it's on you. So you cannot do the, well, I'll get paid and still work and be sick at home. I mean, you cannot do that. You really cannot do that when you're employed, self-employed. You really have to get up and go, oh, damn, I'm sick, but I'm going to have to get up and go. You have to. Bad. Put on a bit of glamour and do what you got to do. You have to do your part of it. Otherwise, you're going to end up self-employed. So you have to really be smart about being self-employed. Really study your craft and whatever it is that you're doing. Promote yourself and do the right things in the mundane and in the magical world. To again, you have to balance things out. All right? What do you think, Goddess?
All right. And yes, you know, I think you're right. And we're going to actually break down the causes of the negative mind chatter and things like that as we go through. Because, you know, some people do have a negative personality. I'm not going to pretend that they don't. But a lot of times that negative mind chatter comes from programming that you received as a child. And so we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. I just wanted to make two more notes about the astrological transits that can be causing some issues. Just to give an example, someone wrote in the chat room, we're going to read the chat room notes also, that they're a Sagittarius. And yes, thankfully for you, Saturn will be leaving you very shortly. And you have had a very trying 3 years. So you should know that it's going to be moving into Capricorn, but it is going to come back and visit you in 6 months, for 6 months, to check up on you, to make sure you're doing the right thing. So don't just think it's over. You still got to stay on your P's and Q's, because Saturn is going to be returning to check on you, to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if not, he'll bring the hammer down again. So we want to, if you're getting things together, you want to make sure you keep that together and don't go backsliding, because Saturn's coming back to check on you. The other thing I wanted to also mention about how important it is to understand astrological transits is because of all of the seemingly current and constant environmental crises that we're having now with hurricanes, and we've got earthquakes, and people are losing their homes, they have no money, they have no medications. And, you know, I hear different things, you know, some people saying, oh, you know, it's Armageddon, it's finally here, it's end times, or the earth is mad and is paying back. But my theory is, and keep in mind, it's just my own personal theory, everyone is entitled to their own theories and everything else, and I will support whatever you say because you're entitled to it. My personal theory is that we're right in the pre-shadow of Uranus and Taurus. Now, as we just talked about, the Uranus transits are 8-year transits. So I had it first for 8 years, and it went into Aries, and, you know, for all you Aries out there, it's coming to a close, and it's heading into Uranus, and we're in what we call the pre-shadow. It means it's already started making its way towards Taurus. The last time Uranus was in Taurus was the Great Depression. And it was also when Hitler was ruling things. And so if we look at our current president, loath though I am to call him a president, you see that he aligns himself with white supremacists and neo-Nazis. and promotes racism, which maybe it's not at the degree of Hitler, but still it's on its way and trying to get there. And then we've also got, because of these environmental issues going on, it's causing all kinds of economic chaos. You know, if places are flooded, people can't work. People can't work, they're not getting any money. You know, and all of that trickles. So if we, as whatever country you're in, if my suppliers are in Puerto Rico, guess what? I'm not getting my supplies. And so I might not be able to sell what it is that I'm selling. It all trickles down. And we have been hammered left and right all over the place. And all of that is causing a huge economic disturbance. People don't have money. They don't have food. They don't have shelter. Their jobs are gone. And then we're trying to help out with that. And so we can be headed towards that depression again, where there's a lack of money going on. This is not to frighten everybody, say, oh my God, we're going to be going into the Great Depression. What that is, though, is to say, you know what, I better take some steps right now to see what we can do, you know. And if you're lighting a candle for prosperity for yourself, you know, it takes just the same amount of time you can light a candle for prosperity for the world, you know, or nurture for the world. Or you can do something, if you're doing it for yourself, do something also for the world, because you're not just doing charity for the world. By helping the world, you're also helping yourself, because we might be, you know, in our cozy homes right now. We're not in Puerto Rico or Mexico or the other places that these things are going on. We're kind of looking at it from a distance and trying to see what we can do. Everything trickles down and it will come to us. It's going to move that way. So you're also setting up a pre-defense to keep us afloat, and wherever you are, to keep your city afloat, to keep your jobs afloat, because this is going, when anything is global, it's going to affect everybody. And so we have to be ready for that. And, you know, you might want to look up Uranus and Taurus, the history of it, so you can go back and see what was going on 84 years ago when this happened before. It was a nasty time. And I'm looking at what's going on and seeing the crises that people are in right now, and how their worlds have been literally destroyed, and it's going to take zillions and zillions of dollars and people to fix it, which is an economic drain on everybody. We can be going back into that time of financial depression. And that's also a time for you to start, if that happens, you know, because we can't control everything. And if something has to happen for a reason, if the universe says, you know what, these people haven't learned anything yet, we're just going to go ahead and keep teaching them until they do, and we can't maybe put a stop to it, you can learn to do some basic survival things. Learn how to make your own candles if you can, and start gathering up your supplies. There may be a candle shortage because of what's going on. You know, grow your own vegetables. See what you can do to start to get ready in case this does come down the pike and suddenly we're all out of jobs, or we're all having a hard time. You know, especially for us people who are self-employed, we are considered, the work that we do is often considered a luxury. And so if you're a public witch and you make your money through your craft, and people are now saying, well, you know what, I can't afford to come to you for you to do your spell work or do your healing work or whatever, because now I lost my job or whatever, that's going to trickle down to us self-employed people as well. So I just want you to all see that this can be a very big issue. And I want you to look up the astrological transit to see that. Just put history of Uranus and Taurus in your Google, and you will see what was going on at that time, and start to prepare just in case. You know, maybe gather up, when you go and you buy your candles, buy an extra one to store in a cabinet so that you have something there, extra herbs. And more importantly, learn how to grow your own. Buy some seeds. You know, you can save a lot of money doing your own stuff. So I wanted to say that. And then also, if you are, there's a great website. I'm going to put it here in the chat room. It's called astro.com. Now, you do need to know, to use this website, you do need to know what time you were born, so that you can take a look at what your transits are, what's going on with you, what your birth, your natal information was, so that you know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. But also, please start to prepare, and I'm going to say it again, just in case we do enter into another economic depression as great as the one that was in the 30s and the 40s, please begin to prepare yourself. But also, if you're doing a spell for your own well-being, just take an extra candle or make an extra offering and do it for the world as well. Because you're not just defending the world, you're defending yourself by defending the world. Hopefully that makes sense with what I just said. And then just very quickly, for those of you who are Pisces, like myself, and if you've had a month of the past month has been, oh my goodness, everything has just gone insane. Where's my money? Where's everything? When you are when you're in your opposite sign, our opposite sign is Virgo. And so when you're in your opposite sign, it is a very it can be, I should say, a very challenging time for you. And so I used to say, oh my God, we're in Virgo. I hate going into Virgo because then I have money and this happens and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, what would happen is I'd have no money and all these crappy things would happen because I'm actually insulting the gods and goddesses of Virgo. So this year, I cut a deal with like, look, Virgo, I know we're not friends, okay? I'm not going to pretend to be your friend because you'll see right through me and I'd be being phony. However, I would like to make an offering to you and cut a deal and ask you to please, let me continue forward with what I'm doing and to move forward easily and to work with me. And, here's a nice candle and some flowers for you, making them offerings and appeasing those lords and ladies. And this is probably the first year I've had a smooth Virgo because I cut a deal and I honored them instead of hating on them and saying, I hate you, the Virgo energy. Oh. Well, then, of course, if I'm saying I hate you, they're going to kick my ass. So now I'm like, guess what? You know what? I'm not going to pretend that I love you, but I do respect you. And so here's, this and that and the other thing, and things went well. So that's all I'm going to say about astrology, because I see that we have been rolling with that. Goddess Star and I, we tend to get on rolls about things. And so we're going to try to move forward. Now we're going to talk about fear. Fear is another thing that is going to hold you back. Before I do that, I just realized we've got a lot going on in the chat room. So just to very quickly run through this, we've got, hello, Jenna, Ashley, Ingrid, Adriana, everybody. Thank you so much. Jenna, thank you so much for joining us. Average Doll, that's a beautiful name. Okay, so we've got people saying hello. Very good timing. Praise to the elders and blessed be. Same to you, dear heart. We've got Jenna who's saying, everyone's saying hello to each other. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Average Doll, who is a Sagittarius. It's almost over for you, yes, Average Doll. Just need to hang in there, but don't forget Saturn. We'll be back to check on you, so do the right thing. And we have Soul, who says, today I felt so depressed and down on myself. I'm an empath and feeling all the stuff going on in the third dimensional world, and Sag on the North Node. So Soul, listen, if anyone understands feeling everything as an empath, you're talking to the right person here. However, just as Goddess Star had said earlier, that sometimes we tend to wallow in bad energies. And you can say, and believe me, because I've said it, and I'm not just saying this, oh my God, I'm such an empath, I feel everything, and that's what's affecting my life, and blah, blah, blah. But you know what, as an empath, there are steps that you can take to block those adverse energies and refocus on what you can do to help yourself. Now, you may be saying, oh, but I'm feeling energies of the world, but you're telling me to work on myself. To say that to an empath is like, are you telling me to be selfish? And the answer is, yes, I am. And let me tell you why. The reason I'm telling you to be selfish is because if you are down in the dumps and depressed and can't function because you are feeling these energies of the world, how many people can you help when you're in that state? All you can do is cry and add to the energies that are going on that are being depressive. So your kind can feed those energies. And I used to do this. That's why I created a whole empath training channel on my YouTube, just to help other people not make those mistakes that I had made. What you can do is say, you know what, I better stop focusing so much on what's happening in the world, all of these horrible, bad things, and I better get on top and see what I can do to get myself stronger, to get these energies off of me, to get back on track, because the stronger you're feeling, the better you're feeling, you're better able to help other people. And otherwise, you're going to be if you don't do that, what will happen is you will sink into the abyss that all of these energies are causing. And you're just going to jump right in there and you'll be in the abyss, and then you can help no one, let alone yourself. But if you say, you know what, the earth is going to do what she's going to do, the universe is going to do what they're going to do, I need to hurry up and fix my own broken wings so that I can fly and help other people to fly and fly out of the abyss. You want to fix your wings so you can fly out of the abyss and help other people to fly out. Because as empaths, if we are service empaths, because there's another whole side of empaths that are not nice. If we are service empaths, we are here to help people, but we can't help them if we are stuck in our own abyss. We have to pull ourselves out, and then we have to focus on building ourselves up. Focus on you. Do you need a new job? Do you need to get energies off of you? Do you need to shore up your own finances? What do you need to do to get yourselves feeling so strong and so confident and getting your optimism back that you actually can be a force against these bad energies or adverse energies that all of these people who are suffering, that you're feeling the world suffering, when what you really want to do is project the opposite of optimism and healing and health, which we cannot do from a place in the abyss. And I also see that you help people, homeless vets, which means not only are you dealing with the suffering of the world that's going on, you're up close and personal every day with people who are suffering and who are homeless. And then you also have your business as a healer and a teacher, I see.
Right.
So even more importantly,
That's a
because
lot.
you've got all this on you, it is
Yeah, it's too
really
much.
important for you and all empaths who are listening right now. And again, I say this because I have been there. I have lived in the abyss for decades, not understanding who and what I was. And so when you're feeling like this, it is time. I'm actually glad that you say you stayed home today. Good for you, because you needed to separate yourself from that energy and take this time to repair your wings. Focus on yourself. Get yourself back together again. Take a nice energy shower. Get everybody's energy off you. Shore up your chakras and your auras, your first lines of defense. I'm not going to go into a whole empath training here. I do have, if you look under the playlist, you'll see the empath training channel, which will teach you how to remove your cords and things like that. My book, You Are Not Broken, is geared towards empaths. We can help you with this. But I do want you to know that if you're feeling that inundated, that now you are living in the abyss of suffering, then we need you to fly back out and focus on yourself. It is your duty to put yourself first, because you are a warrior for the world. And we do not send soldiers out to battle tired and broken down and depressed, do we? Nope, we train them, we build them up, we buff them up, we feed them well, and then we send them out there when they're strong and ready to put up a defense to defend others and those who cannot defend themselves. And so it's time for you now to step back and do the same thing. Buff yourself up, do whatever you do energetically. It's time for metaphysician, heal thyself. You got to put yourself on your own table and heal yourself, because we will do everything we can to heal everybody else, even when we're finally just limping along on one leg and we have like no energy left, and we're at the point where we're crawling to get forward, but we're still going to be crawling, pulling other people behind us, when that's not what we're supposed to do. We need to be standing up. And so if you have to tell everybody, chill out for a minute, I need to get myself together, let's go ahead and do that, because I do understand everything that you're saying, and I am with you on it. But I just want you to know that this is your time now to take this time to put yourself on your own table. Whatever healing techniques you do for others, go ahead and do that for yourself. And believe me, I'll get to the point where I'm literally crawling on the ground before I like, excuse me, Rhonda, don't you tell people that they're supposed to not do this? How about you take your own advice? And so I have to get on my own ass about it. Really, it's true. I do. Because it's just my nature. You know, I don't know if anyone's noticed, if you guys are on Facebook, you'll see that Goddess Star has been, I mean, like, really working hard to help people that who are going through all of these in crises with the hurricanes and the earthquakes and things like that, despite the fact that she's exhausted from all the other things that she's doing in her life, but she's still plugging along. And so, you know, because we do that, where we just, because we're public witches and because we care so much about everyone else, that even though we're exhausted, we're going to still keep picking up that sword with the last bit of our strength to fight. But after a while, it's time to put the sword down and get ourselves healed up. And so we're just going to send you that same advice because we so understand you. And 3T Lover, thank you. I'm so glad that you like the book, and I'm so glad that it's helping. I didn't mean to get off on a whole roll about that, but because I see Soul and what she said, and because I do understand being an empath and just trying to slug it out as best as we can, you know, we do have to heal ourselves. We have to take our own advice. We have to get on our own tables, do our own diagnosis on ourselves, clean up our energies, whatever it takes, so that we can be those strong, fearless warriors that we are to help the world. So with all that said, we're going to go back and because I've totally gotten, I have to go kind of realign my brain because I kind of got off
I know,
track
like,
there.
okay, where was I kind of a thing?
Okay, so we were just, okay, Goddess Star, we're working on fear right now.
Yes.
You know, as much as we want to do things, it can be very scary, the idea of change. So just as I said before, when I was fighting with Uranus about leaving the mortgage industry, because that was my bread and butter, and taking a risk, being self-employed, you know, because my parents, who are old school, like many of our parents were, you know, we were taught that we have to have a stable income. You know, you have to have a steady job with a stable income, and that's what's going to bring this to you. The idea of being, you know, self-employed and subject to the whims of whether people have money or not to pay my services or things like that was very frightening for me. So I fought Uranus tooth and nail until I finally had no other option. There was no other option for me. It was either that or be homeless, is to use my skills or be homeless. But that fear, if I wasn't so afraid, and a lot of those fears came from my parents because their parents went through the Great Depression, so it was beaten into them. I remember my grandmother, I love my grandmother, I miss her dearly. She would give you anything that you, if you wanted anything, she would give it to you. If you wanted the clothes off her back, she would give them to you, except don't ask her for $2. Don't ask her for $1 because she said, no, I might need that later, because she still had that depression when she, or rather that depression experience. She told me that back in the depression days, in her neighborhood, people would share flour so that everyone would at least be able to have bread to eat. That's how poor they were. They literally had nothing. And so because they had that poverty into them, every penny meant something. Every penny meant something. And the fear of losing those coins and pennies and money again permeated their lives, so they hung on to it. And I cannot tell you how many times, and wish I had listened, that they would say, you know what, take 20% of your salary and put it away and don't touch it. You know, or things like that, because they would be, you need to learn how to cook your own food and grow your own vegetables and do all these things and blah, 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 things that, because of what they went through. And so because I had that beaten into my head as a kid, I was afraid to do something self-employed. In 1994, my astrologer told me, you're supposed to be a psychic healer. But I was already in the mortgage industry, and I'm like, well, no, because that's not a steady income, so I didn't do it. And then 20 years later, Uranus stepped in, and it's like, okay, I'm the man in charge now, and you're going to do it. And took everything and made me do it. And so fear can actually stop you. If you always wanted to start your own business and you're afraid to do that, then that is going to stop you. Even if you're like, I really want to do this, I really want to do this, you can still might be afraid, well, what if it fails? What if it doesn't work? You know, what if I try and then I lose my home and things like that. We also have fear of responsibility that can come with change. You know, it's one thing to want to aspire to be the manager of your department, or go for being a partner with a law firm, or get raised up in the ranks. With that comes tremendous responsibility. You know, there's a reason they say heavy is the head that wears the crown, because you're going to have more responsibility with that. Maybe that more responsibility means you can't spend as much time at home with your kids, because now you've got a bigger position. People are depending on you. So now you've got to work, instead of 40 hours a week, maybe you got to work 60 or 70 hours a week. And then your husband might start complaining, or your wife might start complaining, or your kids are going to grow up and you're not going to be around to see it. These are little subconscious little things that can be going on inside your head. So you could say, man, I really want this manager position. I really want this position. But if subconsciously you've got going on in there saying, well, that's manager that has it now, she works 70 hours a week, she never gets to see her family, things like that. You can have conflict about that. You can be afraid, and that fear will put the kibosh on pretty much anything that you want to do. We also have social fears. Now, this might sound strange, but it can happen. If you have been with a group of people, and I'm sure some of you out there have experienced this, maybe when you were younger in your 20s, when we're in our late teens, early 20s, we're just making our way into the world. All of us are poor, unless you were born, in a very wealthy family. All of us, we're just getting our first jobs. We're not making that much money, and we talk about it and what we're going to do when things get better. If you pull away and start to actually climb, and your friends are still remaining down here as you're climbing up the ladder, your friends may turn on you because they're jealous, or they might be envious, or whatever. So there could be a subconscious, well, what if my friends don't like me? Or what if my boyfriend, because if I get this new job, I can't spend as much time with him. What if he leaves me and goes with somebody else? Because now I've got to go to school and I'm working and I don't have time for him anymore. He'll leave me. He might do this or whatever. You have to really examine yourself and ask yourself, is it fear of change, or fear of responsibility, or social fears? My boyfriend might leave me. My husband might have an affair because I'm not home anymore. My kids might grow up unruly because I'm not there to raise them. You have to really examine yourself to see, am I my own blockage through fear? What do you think about that, Goddess Star?
I think that's true, because I think a lot of times tendency to, I think like I said earlier, it's us holding ourselves back, whatever the reasonings are. Because I'll be honest with you, if your fiance or your husband or your boyfriend is going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you anyways.
That's right.
Or whatever that was, you thought that if that's the way you have to keep them, is by always being there. That means in a sense, in a way, you're kind of already seeing it's not going to work on its own. All those little signs that you see is for you to pay attention to. So you have to decide, or speak to that person. Maybe you're just misunderstanding what the situations are, and get their thoughts. Because yes, there are mates that get jealous of you making more money than them, or a better position than them, or whatever it is. But honestly, you cannot live your life based on them and what their needs are. The only thing I see that I honor most, that a male or female would do and say, I'm doing it because of this, would be if you're a single parent, or your parents both there for your kids. You have to adapt your job or whatever it is, or your business, around the needs of your kids, because they're a certain age and you have to help take care of them. But you can't adapt. You do what you need to do with the kids. You work with them and you all work some things out, and you make it work. Communication is a big deal. If you have it all bottled up in you and you are not voicing it and letting them know how you feel, then they don't know how you feel and what you're doing. And you might be surprised. That little child might have a great suggestion for you, or a great thought. And kids think they have a tendency to understand and want to work with you to help you get what you need to get done. So learn to communicate with them. Learn to communicate your needs and your thoughts and your ideas. And see how that works for you. I'm not saying it's always going to be pearly whites, because we can all try a situation and it may not always work out, but at least give it a try. You know, because like Goddess Rhonda just said, not really base your needs on your friends or your husband or any of those things. You have to base it on, especially if you communicate with them. If it's a girlfriend or a male friend, I'm sorry, you have to move on and get what you need done. But if it's your husband or your mate or whatever it is, and you guys really want to make this work, then communicate with each other what you want to do, and it might work out, you know. But if you know, in that sense, don't sit back and say, well, this is not going to work out, or I'm not going to accept that because of so and so and so. You've made the decision without discussing it. That's on you. And you have to learn to accept responsibility for your actions, which a lot of people do not do. They will blame everybody and the dog and say, well, so and so. In the meantime, that dog and that everybody else did not even know you were going through any of that because you didn't discuss it with anyone. You were not communicating. Communicate. Some of the things too is a lot of people are, and I know, like Goddess Rhonda mentioned earlier, Mother Nature and all the different things, the different earthquakes, the different hurricanes, everything seems to be coming one after the other. And it's a lot to take on because we're all feeling it. I am not a big empath and I'm feeling it. My stomach, I wake up with extreme pains in my stomach. And I think that's what's pushing me to do all these different things that I'm trying to do to see if I can help, all the different things. And we're doing magical vigil prayers and all the different things we're doing. Need to help, but we also have to take care of ourselves, because at certain points I kind of just pass out and I just say, okay, whatever it is, we'll have to wait. I can only do so much. Literally do that. Take a step back and say, there's only so much you can do. Otherwise you'll burn yourself out, because you've seen me doing it.
Sure.
I've seen you doing it too. We go and we go and we go, you know. But I'm looking at take a look at others out there, and I think that's the reason that's even doing more than I, you know. And I'm going, okay, then if they can do it, I can do more too. And I push myself, and I know you do too. So maybe some of you are doing that exact same thing, and more power to you if you think you can do more. I honor you guys, and I hold you up for that. And maybe you can reach out for different groups out there. There are so many. Yes, there are some groups out there that are just mundane and not much going on there in terms of, I don't mean magical needs, I just mean in general, out there that you can reach out to that has been helpful to people. So maybe you can reach out to certain groups out there or certain people out there that can help you in some ways, whatever it is. Maybe, and I think there are groups with jobs and stuff, right? If you are looking for certain jobs or maybe certain businesses, you know, you can join and do what you have to do to help yourself. Basically, you know, don't give up. It was interesting. I was looking at how you mentioned about Mother Nature and all of that, and she's angry, and everyone's basically saying that on Facebook. All the different posts is she's very angry, she's pissed off, and I've even said it. And as I was looking through many posts and different things, and I came across this blog, and this person was writing, and she said a few things, and I said, wow, she is really, I thought it was interesting what she said, and I'm going to read it to you guys. She said, Mother Nature is punishing us for our greed and ignorance. I've seen post and post of that online, and many comments bearing this sentiment these past few weeks, with earthquakes, hurricanes, and outrageous fires. And it's understandable that people might view things with this lens, but is it helpful? And she says, I have a different understanding of our world. Perhaps this perspective of ours offers medicine to you in times like these. She says, I don't believe in a punitive universe. I think it's humans' ego to make ourselves so important so as to be punished like this for our own actions. This makes us not only superior and more influential than any other living being, but also places us squarely in the role of victim. And I see now that part, when I got to that, I said, she's right. Because we do tend to a lot of us put ourselves in that role of victim and don't take responsibility for our actions. You know what I mean? There's more, but I don't want to go into the whole thing. But basically, she's saying that right now, with all of the things that's going on, we have to sometimes realize that nature is brutal. that people, plants, and animals die and they live, and yes, it's tragic, but we also have to deal with all of that and the way that the earth is, and that we as humans have no doubt contributed to the acceleration of climate change. Yes, we are depleting our many resources, but if we ourselves learn to go back to the old ways, a lot of the old ways, like you mentioned, rely on resources, on your own resources, learn to I think we had a show on that where we were saying, go back to the ways of learning your craft more so that you can then learn to do things to help in that time. If it does, and if it does go back to that, 84 years ago of the time of the Great Depression. All of those things is kind of, she said, you know, maybe in a way, this is our lessons to be learned, to go back to a lot of the old ways and leaving less of a stamp or a footprint on this planet. And a lot of it is interesting because if you go to Google and you type in the old ways, survival or something like that, you will see all these things come up, and there are so many books or recipes and different things, or even YouTube videos on it, on how to, the old survivals, the old pioneers, and they survived vegetation and everything, that a lot of it that we didn't even know how to plant and grow certain things, because a lot of those art have been lost to a lot of us. And I think that we, you know, I mean, Goddess Rhonda and I have said it so many times about going back to learn things from scratch. So dependent on the electricity that we have and all the different things, when people used to live by candlelight for many, many years. They didn't have electricity and a switch that they turned on, and we are so codependent on all these different things that in some ways we have not learned how to really survive. And to what we consider, oh my gosh, we're out of whatever it is, they were like, I'm sorry, you just light a candle and you're fine. You know what I mean? They lived it and they survived. So if they survive, so can we. And a lot of times we have to learn to rely on our own resources and our own talents. And I'm not going to reiterate how much that is such a big deal, that we learn our craft well, so that if we do go back to those times, we can survive. We can learn to live from scratch and be that survival person. But I mean, I even got the book. I don't know where it is right now. I wish I had thought about it before. I would have brought it out for you guys to see the book. It's an interesting book because they told you how they took meat and made it. It kind of looked gross and everything. But it's just because, I guess, in modern times, the way we do things, you know what I mean? But I really think that going back to some of the videos that we've done before on survival and everything, and learning your craft and learning to depend on yourself and stop always reaching out for things that may in some ways be beyond you at the time, but you have such innate talents within yourselves and you just ignore them and reach out for other things. And I think every one of you have a really that base talent within yourselves. And I think you need to learn to let it, open it up, being that empath or whatever the talent is, learn to bring it out, because it's there inside of you. And I really wholeheartedly believe that we all have at least one talent within ourselves that we can work with. Do you agree, Goddess?
Absolutely.
I think we do. And if, you know, and I think if we allow ourselves to learn how to bring that out and hone it and learn that skill so well that you can become that useful person, you know. And go ahead, Goddess.
Well, one of the things also is to, you know, test your own fear factor to see, you know, we also need to figure out, you have to self-diagnose your blockages. One of the reasons why we're doing the show, so that we can bring up different things so that you can take a look at to really examine what's going on with you. So you can do a little, I call it the inner fear test, to see how you feel about, how you really feel about getting what it is that you want, or what it is that you think that you want. And so what you kind of do is you just kind of calm yourself down for a second, close your eyes, and as if you're saying, you know, let's just say you want the new job as the manager of your company, close your eyes and say, I'm going to get the job as the manager of my company. And wait a minute to see what physiological reaction do you get. Do you feel elated? Like, yeah, I'm going to get that job. Or do you feel tension, stress, fear, anything like that? If you are feeling any of those adverse emotions or feelings where you're tightened up or you feel a little stress going in there, that's letting you know that that's the energy that you're putting into your work. And that could be what is blocking you is, all of us have that survival instinct. And if there's something that's causing you fear, if the thought of walking through that door and getting that promotion is going to cause you fear, then subconsciously we're going to try to put the nix on that because we're afraid of what's going to happen. So just think about what it is that you take a minute, close your eyes, think about what it is that you want, and wait a second and see if your body reacts or your mind reacts with oh no, 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 or your body feels tense or whatever. That's letting you know that even though mentally you may want this thing or in your heart you may want it, there's something within you that is fighting it because of that fear, and that can be shutting that door. So make sure you do an inner fear test to see what kind of physiological reaction that you get, and then take it even further and figure out, well, what is it that I'm afraid of? What is it? Because once you figure out what it is you're afraid of, you can conquer it. If you're just living in the fear and you don't know why, then you're subject to being controlled by that fear. But if you can break down that fear and say, okay, you know what I'm really afraid of? I'm afraid that if I get this job, I'm not going to be able to spend that much time with my kids and I'm going to miss my kids. Or I'm not going to be able to spend that much time with my husband. Maybe he'll get bored. Maybe he'll go with someone else. Define it. Because once you define it, then you can take steps to fix it. You can make sure your husband is on the same page. When you're married, you're supposed to be partners. You have to support each other. So maybe he's going to have to do double duty, taking care of the kids or whatever. But if it's to help the family, ultimately, he's just going to have to do it. But you need to discuss it, have communication. But once you define it, then you can take steps to fix it. If you do not define it, then you're going to be subject to the fear controlling you. So make sure you do a little inner test for yourself, and then you can break it down and figure that out. Okay, so we are leaving.
Also, additionally, the part I wanted to add, along with controlling you with the fear also can cripple you. It has been known to cripple people similar to a disease, and it can be painful because you're trying to make that step forward and it's holding you back. So you really need to work on a lot of those fears and getting out of it. Move forward. Take Goddess Rhonda's advice and really try to get yourself out of that, because it can really hold you back.
Absolutely. 100% can it hold you back. All right. So now let's talk about another big thing, which is lack of funds. We all might have huge ideas of things that we want to do that, but we don't have the money to do it. I think Goddess Star and we think in terms of grand scales. We want whole neighborhoods of witches, metaphysicians, and schools, and all these things, knowing that's going to cost $1 billion for the things, but still it's what we want. But I'm not talking about just on grand scales, just even things like going to school. You say, I want to be an engineer, but I don't have the money to go back to school. Or I really need a new car. I need a car, but I don't have the money to get a new car. Or I want to buy a house and I don't have the money to buy a house. We can use that lack of funds and start living in the energy of lack of funds, which is going to really cripple us as well. Now, as far as going back to school, there are ways around everything. If you're determined to do something, I think if I were to ask all of you, if there was something once that you were determined to have and you moved hell and mountains to get it and you got it, if you can do it with that, you can do it with anything. It's just getting yourself out of your own anchors to remove those mental shackles and say, well, I don't have the money to go to school, or I don't have the money to get a car right now. I don't have. I promise you that if you put your efforts into it, you will have it. And I use myself as an example a lot because I don't want you to think that God is star. We just sit up here pontificating and saying, well, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 without having to have gone through. We've already walked this street. And so I'm letting you know, I let you know the street that I walk so that you understand I'm not just telling you this and just, blowing smoke up your butt. I'm telling you from experience. I'm going to use a car example. I drove the same, up until last year, I drove the same car. I purchased my car in 1994 off of the lot. I had that car for 25 years? Over 20 years. I had that car. And even though it kept telling me, Rhonda, it's time for a new car. I'd like to retire. I held on to that car. I put the bandages on it, fix this, fix that. Whatever needed fixing, saying, well, you know what, I don't have the money for a car. I don't have the money for a new car. I don't want to have a car loan. I don't have the money for a new car. But really what I was saying, and I had to really, really examine this within myself. And finally, actually, after a while, also my car actually gave me what I call the 30-day warning, which is either you get something new, because I'm retiring. I'm going to the big car lot in the sky. There's not enough money to fix me. And I'm telling you, you need to do something. And so I knew that my car was on its last legs. And I'm still like, well, what am I going to do? I don't have money for a new car. And I said, you know what? What is it that's really holding me on to this car? And what was holding me on to the car? And I had to self-diagnose myself to say, what is the problem here? People buy cars every day. What's the big deal? Yes, I'm attached to my car, but I need a car. I need to do something. And I certainly have the magical wherewithal to come up with the funds for a car. So what is my problem? Because don't forget, you're a witch, or a light worker, metaphysician, however you wizard, however you label yourself, you're a magical being. You can create what you want once you figure out what it is that's keeping you from doing that. I certainly have the magical resources to create the funds for a new car. I was just mentally and emotionally having issues. And so I had to sit and figure out, what is it about this car that I cannot let go of? What's the problem here? And I realized that my life has been so turbulent with the Uranus energies. Like it said, it's a very unstable energy. My car was pretty much the only constant in my life for 20 years. When I went out of the house, there it was waiting for me to take me wherever it was I needed to go. It was the one thing that stayed for that 20 years. My husband died. My career as a mortgage underwriter ended. I lost my home and had to get a new one. I had so many things change, traumatic changes. But the one thing that didn't change was my car. It was my picture of stability. And I clung to it like a life raft when I finally had to let it go and say, you know what? I love my car. It has been, like I said, the picture of stability, the one constant in my life for over 2 decades. However, it can't be that for me anymore. And so it's time for me to let it go and get something new. And I did. And guess what? My car, I went and I got this coupon from Kia. And I went down there and applied and got a car, got a brand nice 2016 car last year. I went and got a brand new car because I said, you know what, if I get it new off it, it'll last, then this car will last me then probably for the next 20 years. But I didn't want a used car. I wanted something brand new that's under all kinds of warranties, so I don't have to worry about fixing it and things like that. And so I went down there and, I got my car loan. I got my brand new spanking car. I had to put only like $500 down. I thought it was going to cost me thousands of dollars to put down. I didn't. And the day that I went to pick up my new car, this is how I know my Clio. I called her Clio the Geo, my old car. That this car was alive. It hung on for me to the last second. When I drove my old car, into the lot to trade it in for my new car, I hit the brakes and the car kept going. The brakes failed right then. the car finally said, finally, that's it, I can rest. And it just like literally almost like fell to pieces. Like,
It died in the lot.
come on now, we're doing something here. It died literally in the lot
In
of
the
the
lot.
car. It's just like, but thank God she finally let me go. I can finally like, oh, and it died right there. And so that was, you know, my sign. I did the right thing. I'm very happy with my new car. I still miss my old car, but I'm very happy with my new car. And but the most important thing is that through this experience, I recognized that I was afraid to let it go because it was the one constant in my life. And so I used the excuse, oh, well, you know, I don't have the money to get a new car. That was just an excuse to hold on to something that I was emotionally attached to that represented stability, something that I just don't usually have in my life because I have a very heavy Uranus influence. So ask yourself, are you using a lack of funds as an excuse to stay in a state or to stay, you know, hold on to your old car or your old house? You know, maybe you grew up in that house, and even though you want a new house, you know, you might have emotional ties to it. Ask yourself and be truly honest with yourself. Is it a lack of funds, or is it something else that is anchoring you to your situation? Even with new homes, you know, they have home buyer programs that you can go to that will help you get like an FHA loan really cheap with little down payment, or you can get help with that. There's financial aid programs if you want to go to school. You know, there's all kinds of ways to help you achieve what you want. But if there's something that is anchoring you to whatever it is, then we really, again, that's where we have to go inside of ourselves and really think, okay, what's the real problem here? You know, there's a show on Netflix. It's actually for little child witches, but I love it because I really think, I wish there was more of them. And it's called The Worst Witch. And there's a lot of moral lessons in there, but basically it's about a little girl. I think they're 8 or 9 years old, little elementary school witches going to school, and the little hijinks and things that they get into and things like that. And one of the little girls had said to her teacher, who was one of these, she's almost, I guess, the equivalent of a female Professor Snapes from Hogwarts. You know how serious he was, all in black? Well, she is the same way. And one of the little witches was crying because she wanted to do something. And she said, I want to, you know, do this, and it's just not happening. And I just can't make it, you know, I just want it to happen. It's not happening. And she looked at the little girl and she said, what are you? And the little girl said, I'm a witch. And she goes, well, witches make things go their way. And then she turned around and walked away. And so I say that because as a witch, and I say witch because I know everyone has their own designations. I associate with being a witch. But, you know, you're wizard, magician, light worker, whatever you call yourself, you have the wherewithal to create whatever it is that you want. It's getting out of here and figuring out what it is that is stopping you. So by finally figuring out that my car didn't just represent a car, my car represented stability to me, I was able to recognize that and say, okay, well, my new car can be stability for me or whatever. And I got out of that mindset and I got myself a new car. And so I want you guys to also think about that, because we can use things that seem very true, but we can also use it as an excuse to anchor ourselves because we have a psychological or emotional or mental attachment to something that may no longer be of service to us. And so we have to be ready to roll with change as well. We can't cling to a past that's no longer serving us. So that's my thoughts on lack of funds as an excuse for not being able to accomplish what you want. Now, what do you think about that, Goddess Star?
That is so true. And I want to add that part, my little part about a car. I am getting a car this fall.
Yay!
But I do not want a new car. That's not me. I want an old car, but I don't like cars. I like my big, you know, SUVs. If I can get the stick shift, I want that stick shift with the big old tires and everything that could get me out of things. Yes, I am getting one. I have not had one since 2006. I am getting one. this fall. One way or the other. I don't care. I told everybody that. I am driving. I've been taking over Arlene's car. Every time I see her out, I'm driving. Poor girl. I took over her car. So I've decided I am buying a car this fall, one way or the other. So there. You decide something and it's going to happen. I can guarantee you I'm going to get it. Okay, so what are the topic are we on to now? The fear still, or what's
we are
the next?
on now. Our topic is using lack of funds as an excuse to not go back to school or to buy a house or to buy a car and things like that, and examining, like I just, saying I don't have the money to it. We're magical beings. We can make the money to get things done because we've done it before. We need to raise the money to pay the rent or pay the mortgage or pay the light bill. We've done it. So
yes, absolutely.
To get a car or a house or whatever, lack of funds is not the reason why. There's something else going on. And so recognizing.
I do have to say though, along with the lack of funds, and I'll tell you, Goddess Rhonda is so right. You guys have so many means of getting things, whether they're FHA loans or different things. There are ways to do it now that were not available to a lot of people years ago. You guys have many avenues and you should utilize them to get that house or that car or the different things. Work with that. One of the things too is I find that a lot of people hold on to is the thought that, they literally come up with so many excuses why they cannot accomplish or get the house or the different things or the school. Because we all know that there are different, many different programs for college. And I think now in New York State, is it just New York where it's free to go to college? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they went to the other states as yet, but it's coming where it's free to go to college now for certain places. So look into that, whatever state it is, and find out about that free to go to college. But in general, people have a tendency to not themselves and their accomplishing their goals with their funds. And a lot of them have, even magical people have been doing GoFundMe. I think in some ways that to me is, in my head, in some ways kind of the cop-out, because to me, GoFundMe and things like that are for people who do not have any talents or do not have a means, or it's I shouldn't say do not have any talents. What I basically mean with that is GoFundMe should be something that's an emergency fund for a medical bill or something that is detrimental to your health that you have no other resources, so you reach out to the community. Because like Goddess Rhonda said earlier, everybody is strapped for cash. Everybody is strapped in one form or another. So when you reach out to other people on GoFundMe for just, I need a car, so I'm going to go GoFundMe, or any of those things, and I believe that you should be able, I want that car too. Occur to me to go to GoFundMe when I know that there's somebody that really needs it for a medical that they cannot really afford to pay for. So you have to decide, I think, what is the best means for you to get that particular item that you want. I have not figured it out yet in my head, but I'm getting that car. And I don't like loans or any of those things. So I'm going to get that car one way or the other. And I'll come back on one of the shows and go, I got my car. I am not kidding. I am going to do it one way or the other. But I'm just saying, it's not just that, but doing the magical side of it. Whatever you have to do, the green and the brown candle, to have it going and the stability of it. Or astrologically speaking, as Goddess Rhonda has mentioned, with different things to help the money or the financial situation. But you cannot sit there in your, I guess, self-pity or wallowing and say that there's no way out or no means out. If you have to reach out to other people in whatever way and say, Goddess Rhonda, Goddess Star, is there a group or a way or something that you can guide me that will help, whatever it is. If we can help, try. If we have no means and we can tell you, sorry, we have no means, but we will certainly give it a try to see what we can do to help. And this is just for anyone with any different things. But I think if you reach a lot into yourself, for a lot of this, you would find that it's in you. You can do a lot of these things. You do have that talent for it. And you have to learn to remove all the blocks that's telling you you can't. I believe it was mentioned earlier when we were speaking about the programming are built with our lack of funds into our programming. Oh, we've always been poor, so you're going to be poor too.
Right.
And you're not going to have any means out of whatever it is. What the programming is, you're not worth anything. You're not good enough for anything. You're never going to amount to much. People have said to you destructively, for every one of those words that they have said you are not, you are going to say, I can, and I do, and I will. You are not going to allow all of these self-programming or the outside programming to hold you back. Because to me, that's all a part of ways of whatever abuse that was done. And you're not going to allow people to continue to abuse you, and you're not going to abuse yourself. Because a lot of us do that self-abuse and everything, you know. So to get out of that self-abuse, get out of that programming abuse that was done to you. Because I don't care who you are, you have some talent, you have worth, and you've got it in you to accomplish what you want. I have faith in people doing it because I see it. You know, I was watching, what's the name? They did a story on YouTube on Oprah Winfrey, and I did not know who this was at first. You know, they were talking about her little story about her life and where she came from with different things, and, you know, molested at 9 and all the different things going on. And that woman came from a lot of wrongdoings and a lot of damage, and decided one day that she was going to pick herself up and move on. And now one of the most powerful women in the world right now. And there are many like her. There are many stories around the world. And if they're out there, you are one of those stories. You are one of those that will accomplish much despite what anyone has said negative about you or against you. So I think we have to literally believe the same way I believe in people's worth and all of that. I want you to also sit back and really close your eyes and put yourself there and really say it. I have that worth. I can accomplish whatever I choose to accomplish. You know, I believe in myself. I love myself. I deserve to receive all the things that I need. You know, all these different things that you have to now do a different type of programming of yourself. Self-affirmations, self-love, all of it. You have got to learn to love yourself all over again, or for the first time, and see your worth. See where you want to go with your life and take it there. You know, it's not, Rhonda said, it's not something that we have not gone through ourselves. A lot of us have gone through many different things. We don't always speak about it, but we are there, and we've either been there ourselves, or we've heard it from other people and been there for them, and all have so much that we can accomplish, and we just cannot allow others to hold us back from doing it. We can just do it. Okay, what do you think, Goddess?
Well, I'm so glad that you brought up that you saw someone on Oprah, because it also made me click in, because there's also, like we talked about, astrologically and things like that. You know, there can be other things that can be harming you.
Yeah.
And one of those things is even your very name. Your name puts out an energy. And so when you said Oprah, reminded me, Oprah, she has a person that she promotes very heavily called, her name is Iyanla Von Sant. And she's a life coach, and she has a show called Iyanla Fix My Life. And she goes to homes and helps people with whatever issues, they're going through, helping them to cope and things like a very no nonsense. She's not one of these, light and airy rainbows and unicorn people. she just comes right in there and says, you know what, you're an idiot, and this is the way it needs to be done, and blah. She just comes right out with what your problem is and yells at you and things like that. Or, you know, if you're the one causing the issue, if you're the one that's on the receiving end, then of course she's very compassionate, but then she will also challenge that person. Well, you know, you're sitting here saying your husband does this, your husband does that. Why the hell are you accepting it? Let's talk about what your role is in this, because you're playing a role in this too by accepting this behavior. So she really makes people examine themselves. Well, anyway, I say all that to say is that one day I like to, when I pretty much hire myself to do every aspect of my job because I'm all I have. And so part of my own little, as Goddess Star is as well. And so part of my own little marketing things is I'll go into Google, I'll Google myself to see what comes up so I can see what people are saying. And then I also wanted to see if I went to YouTube and just put my name, as opposed to just putting in Goddess Rhonda, because I want to make sure that people can find me. So I'll say, well, what if I just put in Rhonda Harris, what'll come up? To see if my channel will come up. So I put in Rhonda Harris. My name is Rhonda Harris-Choudhry. And I put in Rhonda Harris, and there popped up, first thing was Oprah saying, who is Rhonda Harris? I almost had heart failure. Heart failure. Like, oh my God, Oprah wants to know who I am. Like, wait a minute. If Oprah wanted to know who I was, then probably one of her producers would have contacted me. Let's see what's going on here. And so I clicked on it to see what was going on. And Iyanla Van Sant, her real name is Rhonda Harris. And
oh, wow, cool.
Her name because she said when I was Rhonda Harris, you know, her life was in such turmoil. She just wanted to even completely disassociate from the energy of her name. And so she changed it. Now, there's a website that I've referred a lot of people to, and I'm putting it in the chat room right now. It's paulsadowski.com. And you put your name in, and it tells you what the energy of your name is. And what that means, either you're a leader or you're a victim or whatever it is, your name can carry energy. And so it might even behoove you, if you wanted to change your name or, you know, go by your magical name or whatever it is. But your name also carries a very strong energy, and it represents the energy that you're putting out. And if you're, you know, if you're not married, then put your maiden name in. If, let's just say your name is Elizabeth, but you go by Liz or Betsy, go by, you know, do your birth name, but also put in the name that you go by, your nicknames. You know, my name is Rhonda, but people call me Rondi. So I have to see, well, what energy is Rondi putting out? Put out, you know, if you're married, put in your whole, if you go by, like my Choudhry is my late husband's name. So if I put in Rhonda Harris-Choudhry, it'll come up different than if I put in just Rhonda Harris, the energies that I put in. So look at what the energy that your name is putting out there as well. And I just put that in the chat room for you. It's paulsadowski.com to understand what your name means and the energies that you're putting out. But I was fascinated that this woman, Iyanla Van Sant, who's really huge, used to be Rhonda Harris, and she needed to get away from her old life so badly that she completely said, okay, Rhonda's gone, Rhonda's dead now, and Iyanla is born.
All right.
And, you know, maybe that seems really extreme, but if that's what she needed to do
it worked for her.
It worked for her. And so I bring it up because maybe that might be something that, you know, if it works for her, it could work for you too. I'm not saying you have to change your name. I didn't change my name. You know, but still, if that's something that you feel could help you, or at least if you can see what the energy of your name is, then by all means visit that website, put your various names in there, your nicknames, things like that, and look at the energy that you're putting out, because then maybe you can make some alterations with that if you choose to. I'm not saying you have to change your name to change your life, but it can help if that's something you feel that you want to do. Or you can even choose a magical name for yourself, and in your mind always go by that name or put that energy out. There's all kinds of ways you can play it without having to actually physically change your name. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Were you going to say something about that, Goddess Star?
No, I think you are so right about the names and the energies, because I've seen people names in the end of the first degree when we do dedications for them at the temple.
Mm-hmm.
we ask them to choose a magical name. Some choose to keep their birth name or certain names, and or whatever it is, they adapt and they're there with it. And then some, they choose a magical name and it just never latches on. They never become that name. I don't know how to explain it. Whereas, and my craft name, I am literally two different people. Literally, I don't know how to explain it. I get offended when anyone in my magical lifestyle calls me by my birth name. I literally look at them and walk away. Like, I don't know you. You don't know me. This is not the name I'm going by. Because I'm so offended because, and then when I'm in my birth name role as the parent or whatever in the school or whatever it is, that's what I expect. I am still that one person, but my two names have separated into what they are and where my character is. I mean, even though it's a hard thing to explain, but it works for me. And to the point where even when Facebook tried to get me to change my name, they couldn't, because I am known as both and I have paperwork for both.
That's right.
So Facebook had to keep both, had to keep my name the way it is. It's just interesting because I became both those names. And I think that's because, and I never looked back. It was almost 40 years ago, but you know, my craft name, and I have not looked back. And people's versions of whatever they think it is, and it is what it is. And I think the energies are very different for each of my names. It's all in me, but I'm definitely two different names, and the energies are very different in each one.
Right.
And it's interesting. And I think also, whether you realize it or not, when you're goddess Rhonda, you're very different from Rhonda Harris.
Yes, I am.
You take on a different, I don't know how to explain what happens exactly. But the energies are different and you become that different persona, and it's who you are innately. Both of the characters are here and it's all housed in this one body. And each character becomes who they are in a needy situation. And sometimes they both come together in certain situations and they're like, come roaring together, you know, it just depends. But names do hold power in that sense. But I think the power, unlike what people believe when they say, don't let anyone know about your craft name and all those things, that may work for certain extent and because of certain people's beliefs. But in terms of a person who truly accepts the character of both their names, I think it empowers us rather than detracts. And it makes us become bigger and better than before, if that makes sense.
I absolutely agree with you. And Facebook had done the same thing to me. They froze my page, like demanding, how dare you, you know, what's your real name? And I had to show them paperwork too. I had to show them my business license.
Yep.
So, excuse me.
Show them both and they're looking at it going, oh. And
Exactly.
they just had to accept
and then
it
they
for
had
what
to leave
it
it
is.
be. But I know a lot of people that had to change their.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I refused to do it. And I was like, no, I have a right to use this name. Here's my paperwork. And so they left me alone.
See, but that's the thing. A lot of them they didn't go to the extent of creating the extra paperwork for it, which is a shame because, you know, I literally showed them paperwork for everything and they were like, oh, okay. You know, and it's a sad thing because I think a lot of it was done because, according to Facebook, the only reason they look at a person's name is because somebody reported it, which is a shame.
Wow, that's why they did that?
Yes, that's what I found out because I was just like, what is the issue? Apparently, because look how many names you see that that are just strange names, and you know they're not all like, I am the love of life or the different things like that, and no one says anything to them.
Right.
You know, and yet you would have a name that sounds realistic, but they're asking you to change it. Wow. It's because they said people report the name and so they want to have you change your name and become, in other words, they want to strip your character from you. I believe that's what it is. Wow. Because it's the same as, you remember when that's how much power name has. The fact that people are reporting you to Facebook to strip you of your character or your name, part of who your character is. That says something right there. Because people go to such an extent.
Wow.
Right? Think about it. Because those remember the queens, the gay queens, and they literally are that persona. And you don't know anything else about them except that persona. And Facebook was stripping them all away from them. They were like literally felt like someone was taking their clothing off and making them strip naked in the street. I know some of them, and they told me they felt like somebody was telling them to strip all their clothing and identity away from them and stand there naked.
Wow.
That's how they felt. So names are extremely important to people. So yes, if it's the reason why when someone calls you derogatory names or bitch or whatever else they want to call you, they're not doing it to make you feel better. They're doing it to strip you of something, to strip your character down to what they want to put you down to. So names and words like that are very powerful. So people have to hold all of that in mind. It's the reason why people take on certain names, because it makes them become. And if that's what makes you become, no one has the right to strip that from you.
Mm-hmm.
So be smart about that. For places like Facebook and stuff, create that paperwork. Create a business card with both the names on it. It shows that you belong and that's you. All of those little things, it shows paperwork. That's what Americans like, paperwork. And when you do that, they cannot do anything about it. So just, be mindful of that. Names are extremely powerful.
That really sucks that, because I have wondered, like, there are people that still got to keep their name that use obviously is not their real name,
because you see
things like that.
Yeah.
Strange,
like not strange, but I mean stupid strange, like Goddess of the Lovecraft or I mean, I've heard some strangely sitting there going, love it dung or something like that.
Right.
It's been there. And somehow they're able to keep those names, but yet regular names like Silver Raven Wolf, when she writes books as an author, no one knows her birth name. So all of a sudden you were seeing this name and you were like, who is that? And she wrote a whole piece on how her name was stripped from her on Facebook. And that's people reporting the names. People are horrible. People are horrible.
That's just jacked up.
Yeah, it's basically saying, I want to strip you of who you are because you're not better than I am. That's the way they, and when I found that out, I was like, you sons of, EVs.
Yeah, I'm feeling that the goddess Rhonda anger starting to rise, but I'm just going to bring it down.
Yeah. Hold on to it, girl. It's okay, because you want to know something? They came, they tried, they did not conquer, and they're there. We're with the names. They did not strip us of our character. We are who we are.
That's right.
Hear us raw.
That's right. So,
you guys have to do the same thing. Let no one take away yours. Do not let them strip you of your character. You are, whatever that character is that makes you come out of that depth, makes you hold on to who you are and gives you that inner strength, hold on to it and don't allow anyone to strip you of that.
That's right.
I'm just saying, names are power. Okay.
Right. They are power. All right, we're coming up on the end. Let's see. I did want to just cover one thing before we take over. We kind of started, we did discuss this a little bit, but we're just going to go ahead and talk about it for a few more minutes about the spells we cast every day. We may cast a spell, let's just say on Sunday we do a success spell, and we get our orange candle, whatever candle represents success for you, and we're doing our thing to do our success work. And so we've got our 7-day candle working for us. Well, you did your ritual, however long that ritual took, and it's doing its work. But you cast spells, well, I should say we, because I include myself in this. We cast spells all day long by what we think. Our minds are huge harbingers of power, and thought is power. And so I know we talked about, our negative thoughts and things like that, but it's I want you to also be aware of, it's not just a negative thought, it's you are casting a spell, maybe several times a day. So if your mind chatter is, I feel like I'm never going to have enough money to get a whatever it is, or I feel like that job interviewer, they're not going to call me because I don't really have the experience, or, you know, I can't stand the idea of having to go to work today because my boss is going to be on my ass, or this is what's going to happen, or that's going to happen. We cast spells all day long with our thoughts. And if you've got your one candle going for success, but you've cast 100 little mini spells of failure because in your head, you are completely countering what
Yes.
that candle
And yep,
do.
nullifying and negating that awesome spell that you started at home, and that's
That
sad.
you just did, and you're like, well, I just did this huge candle and made these offerings and did this whole, you know, ceremony. How come it didn't work? Well, it was trying to, but because of what we do and what we're thinking of, we are negating our own spell work because we are constantly casting spells with our thoughts and with our words and what we're feeling. And I want to tell you one of the biggest spell casting things, energies that we also put out is stress. When we think of stress, we think of, you know, how we tighten up and the things that are going on. And, you know, we hear about the physical ailments that it causes. Well, let's talk about stress from a magical standpoint for a moment here.
Wow.
Stress floods your body with adrenaline. Think about adrenaline. Adrenaline has helped people pick cars up off of their children. It's a fight or flight chemical, a hormone. It's epinephrine, actually, is what it is, that flows through your system. And it can either make you, if you're in danger, it can make you run faster or make you fight harder. But it is a huge, strong energy that is you're putting out. And when you've got this, let's say for tip, you know, some people, and again, you know, I'm not trying to mess with your traditions. Everyone has their own way of doing things. Some people, when they cast their spells, they go into a Zen trance and they cast from a trance state. Some people, they ground and they center and they do it from that kind of a state. But others raise energy. You know, they raise energy to put into the spell. They dance, they walk around, they do things to raise the energy to put into the spell. That adrenaline that's flowing through your body has raised the energy to put into a spell. It is a strong and powerful energy. And if we are stressed out and we've got this energy of strength going out and we're adding our nasty thoughts to it while we're stressed out, I'm so stressed out because I have no money. You have now just created this ginormous spell of not having money that you have put around yourself with your adrenaline. Because that adrenaline, sure, all of us here knows what it feels like to be stressed out. And we're like this, and we're like, oh my God, and things like that. Well, that same energy that comes with stress is the same energy that many of us use to raise the power to put into a spell. You are putting power behind those words. And so if you're stressed out, that's the best time to say, I have lots of money, or I have my job, or whatever it is, because you're putting that same power that you raised to put into your magic, you're emitting it from your own body with this adrenaline that is flowing through it. And so if you're combining adrenaline with negative thoughts, you are almost guaranteed to see that come to fruition. That negative thought is going to transform and manifest itself. And it's going to, might as well just pour some water on your candle and heave it out the window.
Forget about it. Yep. You just killed it.
You just killed it. So what I suggest is, and I'm not going to say, well, that means, oh, you know, you can just turn the stress off. If you've got situations going on, and also if you are exposed to a prolonged period of stress, then you can actually become an adrenaline junkie. I'm an adrenaline junkie because I was exposed to a lot of stress, particularly when I was a child. And so what happens is, with adrenaline also comes dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone. And the body can literally get addicted, and then you become your own drug dealer. So a lot of people, no, it's true. It's true.
I know it's true. It's just funny when you're saying it like that, but I know it's true.
And what happens is a lot of people not realizing, if they've gone through a stressful time and they're sitting there watching TV and they'll feel this adrenaline rush and they'll mistake it for a panic attack. Say, oh my God, I'm having a panic attack. I'm having an anxiety attack. what you're really doing is your body is saying, time for my fix, and it floods itself with adrenaline, which translates into that stressful feeling. So if you are constantly under stress and you feel that adrenaline flowing, you feel that, that thing, that is not the time to say, oh my God, I'm so stressed out because I have no money, or I don't have a love, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. That's the time to say, you know what? I'm going to use this energy, and I have money, and I have this, or I'm going to put it into my spell, and alter the frequency of your words and your thoughts to work with it. Now, ideally, we don't want to, and excuse me for blowing my nose, but we've got allergy seasons here. Ideally, we would rather not be an adrenaline junkie, because also with adrenaline comes cortisol, and cortisol causes heart problems, high blood pressure, diabetes, belly fat. You can't lose weight. I mean, there's a lot of problems there's a lot of health issues that come with it. But at least until you get it under control, and you do that through meditation and recognizing you're not having a panic attack, your body's feeding itself adrenaline, and then you do take deep breathing or do things to calm yourself down. If you still have that until you get to that point, when you feel that stress, don't put a negative energy into it. Say, you know what, wow, I've got the adrenaline flowing quick. Let me go light my prosperity candle or send it to the universe. I have every ounce of money that I need to get my car or get my house or get whatever, and the universe is going to guide me the right way to get whatever I want. Use that adrenaline to help you instead. Otherwise, if you are stressed out and adding those negative words to it, you are casting powerful spells every single day. Imagine if you cast a powerful spell every single day for what you wanted. You wouldn't want for anything. You'd have everything that you want. Well, we do that all day long, and you don't know it, but we're not doing it in a good way. We are doing it in, I'm so stressed out because my car is broken and I can't afford a new one. I'm so stressed out because I need the plumbing to be fixed or the electrician to come and I can't pay him. I'm so stressed out because my mortgage is due and my rent is due. I don't have the money to pay it. You are casting some serious spell work and you don't even realize it. So when you feel stressed out, if anything, change those words, change those spells you cast every single day, because we cast spells every day, all day long. All day long we do. We cast spells. If we read the newspaper and we read about, an earthquake or a fire, and we're saying, oh, I sure hope those people can get shelter and food and everything is okay, we're casting a spell for other people. Or so-and-so may come in and say, oh, my mom got diagnosed with whatever, and you're like, oh, you poor thing, I really hope that things get better for your mom or you or whatever. We cast good spells and bad spells every day. Typically, we cast the good spells for the people that, need help. But when it comes to us, we're not realizing exactly, we do recognize as witches and wizards, magicians, whatever you call yourself, that we are magical beings. But do we really recognize the power that we are putting out every day? And that's when becoming what I call a mindful full-time witch, wizard, magician again, and recognizing everything that you do has power, everything, and recognizing your own sources of power and making them work for you, and recognizing the spells that you are casting just with your thoughts. And then if you're putting adrenaline behind it, you might as well take your candle or whatever spell work you did and put it in the garbage and walk away, because it's going to be definitely compromised by that. And I'm sure you can dig it, right, Goddess Star?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I want to add a couple of things there for you guys, which I use all the time when I'm stressed out. Because my belief system is, because of course, when you have lupus or any of those fibromyalgia or any of those things, the specialist will tell you in the lupus department that stress is at the base or the root of a lot of these different types of body diseases, or autoimmune or different things. So my thing is that I am very much into believing to removing stress from me. So anytime it's coming at me, I have these tendencies to do a couple of things. Two main things that I use it on, okay, is, and I think it's for the good, because I see it this way. I simply say, anyone in any way that in any way stresses my life out, that will then inadvertently affect my body and its disease and how to fight it, I remove them from my life. And they tend to, I didn't even think about it, but they do tend to slowly dissipate from my life. I tend to, I would do this de-stressing thing that I do, and I'm like, I'm removing whatever, anything at all that's stressing me out in my life. I'm removing all of it. And I get real calm, really, really calm. And a lot, either their mood changes, or they start smiling instead of being angry, and I didn't even think about it, that every time I'm stressed out, I do these things, and people either change their personalities around me and or they walk away. So inadvertently, I'm using all of that energy and that whole thing, and I'm going on and I'm doing it, and it works. And I always go, see, that worked. I'm like so proud of myself that it worked, forgetting that I'm doing all of this magical work all at the same time. I do it in one context with that. And then the other way that I do it is I'm of the belief that whenever, like how we were celebrating Mabon on Saturday, or any kind of other bad or moons or whatever, and I tell people, whatever stress, whatever it is that they have from during the day, when you come to ritual, literally when you enter that realm that we create, the casting of the circle, come in and remove, use that stress and everything else, let it down into the earth, and cast that magic to come back up and recycle right back into you and give you that strength and the energy and all that you need to recycle yourself, so that when you leave this circle of ritual, whatever you came with, it's not with you anymore. And I use it, I literally tell them to work with that stress, and I was doing it without thinking of it, as you were saying it, but I was doing it all that time and telling them this. And I tell them, and literally it's true, whenever I am doing ritual, no matter what else happened during my day, I take it and internalize it, and I use the ritual itself. And when I leave, it's like if my day never happened the way it did. And you have to, I think part of that whole magic is, like you said, I don't take my stress and allow it to control me or to take me into a negative place. I take the stress and I utilize it in a different way to make me come out happier and feeling better, and all these different things that people are always asking me, how come you're always smiling, or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, I'm calm with certain things or whatever it is, because that's what I use my stress to do, because I can't allow it to control who I am or whatever it is. So I use that stress to do all the other things that I need it to do. So try doing that. Make it work for your rituals. Make it work for pesky people or pesky things in front of you that we've been talking about all night, right? About all those things that have been blocking you, all those pesky things that you want to remove. Use the stress to remove it all. Work with it.
That's right. And just as a further example, I'm glad that you brought up, for lupus and people who have autoimmune diseases and things like that. Goddess Dawn, I've talked about, she has lupus, I have Lyme disease, things like that. And we're trying to not be stressful. Well, just to tell you, or I should say stressed out, just to tell you, to further emphasize how strong stress is and what a power it is. Stress does not know the difference between good or bad or right and wrong. It doesn't. An energy. And back in, I think it might have been 2010 or 2011. I can't quite remember which one it was, but anyway, it was the beginning of that year. It was in January, and I got shingles. I got shingles on my face, and I went to the doctor, and I said, well, what caused it? And she said, well, shingles is usually caused by stress. Well, I was in a very happy space at that time. I don't remember what was going on. Maybe my business was expanding, or I was excited about a new project, but I was in a I was in a state of elation, literally. And I said, but I'm not stressed out. I am elated. I've got things are going great for me and things like that. She says, it doesn't make a difference if it's sad stress or happy stress. Stress is stress. And she said, one of the biggest people who get stressed are brides just before their wedding, because they're so happy to be getting married. that the body doesn't understand the difference of what's causing that adrenaline. It's just that thought of either being way, way up or way, way down, the body floods. And so it did, and I'm like, so you're telling me that being happy made me get shingles? Is that what you're saying? Like now I'm not allowed to be happy, I'm not allowed to be sad. I just have to be an automaton and have no emotions in order to keep from getting shingles again. Just like, well, you know, like I said, happy stress is stress anyway. So even though you're excited and you feel all this energy because you're energized and you're going forward and you're doing all these plans, it didn't make a difference. My body read it as stress. And so that just goes to show you stress does not have to be necessarily a bad thing.
Nope.
But still, it's still going to do what it's
What
going to
it's
do.
gonna
Because if
Yeah.
you had told me that I could get shingles from being happy, from being too happy, isn't that what we're trying to, you know, aspire to? Is to constantly be happy and joyful, and I'm still going to get sick anyway? That makes no sense to me. But I have to say, you know, I'm not a scientist. I don't know how all that works. But I say all that to say is that you can use your stress for good, as Goddess Star said, or you can use it and it can really debilitate you. So just be aware of that. And, you know, if you're the type of person that you work well under that kind of pressure, stress, then use that stress to put into your magic to work good things. Keep your thoughts, be mindful of your thoughts so that, you know, you're putting good thoughts behind that powerful energy that you have going through you. And then, you know, these are just some of the ways to start to really diagnose the blocks, because a lot of times we'll have blockages and we'll say, oh, somebody must have hexed us, or or you know, whatever. When I was growing up in the Christian church, they said, well, you know, that was the devil. The devil came in and did that to you. Yeah. It was the devil, or if somebody did something to you, yeah, the devil made them do it. The devil jumped in them and made them do it. You know,
Yeah.
so I was taught to believe that. Now as an adult, when people are like, well, you know, that was the devil, I'm like, no, the devil was probably home watching Netflix. He's innocent. I did this. This was my choice. These were my thoughts. This is the power I put out. And so anybody hexed me, it was me. You know, you have to take responsibility, and the way that you do that is not just now. I'm not saying that now you need to go and sit and blame yourself and beat yourself up. What we're saying here is to take a really good look at the situation, at what you're feeling, diagnose it. Are you afraid if you achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve? Is it causing you fear? Is it causing you stress? Are you casting little miniature negative spells all day long by your thoughts and the mind chatter? Really, before you look for any outside things that may be causing these things, outside influences, let's take a look in here and see what influences are doing that. Now, I'm not saying that you're not under a hex. People hex people all the time. But you don't want to add to that by your own inner negative influences. We want to seriously sit and diagnose ourselves. We want to keep our energies clean. We want to do, you know, I like to burn black candles, do blockbuster spells. Remember that you do have, we can't control everything. I'm not pretending that we can. But we do have a lot of control that we can use to change our own lives. And I notice, especially as empaths, we will use that power to change someone else's lives. But when it comes to us, we will sit right in that abyss. And we don't want to do that. We want to stand up, get ourselves strong, and really be honest with ourselves, look in our inner mirror and say, is there anything I am doing that is causing this block? Am I afraid? Am I stressed out? Do I not have the confidence? Am I afraid my husband's going to leave me? What's really going on here? And that is really what's going to help you to end those blocks. Because even if someone is hexing you, you can do a spell to reverse that hex. But if someone's hexing you and you're adding your own inner hexes to it, then you're toast. You know, you don't want that to happen. You want to be able to be strong inwardly, energetically clear, and really, really get to know yourself. How intimately do you know yourself? Seriously, truly, how intimately do you know yourself? How intimately do you pay attention to your own thoughts? You might complain that people don't listen to you. How often do you listen to yourself? Just sit and listen to what you're saying inside. Are you your worst critic? Are you the one that's telling yourself that you're never going to do anything? Are you
Right.
yourself looking in the mirror and saying, I'm so fat, no one's going to love me? Or I'm so skinny, no one's going to, because everybody wants a big ass and I have a flat one, so no one's going to look at my ass. You can be that simple as something like that. It might seem like a big deal. You might be saying, ah, ha, 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 ha. But there are people that get butt implants because
do.
they're scared their butts. In fact, that's one of the biggest cosmetic surgeries there is right now, is to get butt implants, because people are very seriously concerned that their butts are flat. I'm like, wow, there are so many things going on, and all you can worry about is your flat butt. What is that? What is that thing? But to me, I think that's silly. But to that person that feels that their butt is so flat they cannot find success in life, that's a very real thing to them. And
Yeah.
so I will say, into their credit, they pulled out I don't know how much money, because there's one thing I don't have is a flat ass. So I don't know how much money they had to pull out to make their butts bigger. But they said, you know what, this flat butt of mine is keeping me from feeling confident and doing the things that I want to do. So they scrape up whatever, I don't know if it's $1,000. Just say it's $1,000. They scrape up that $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is, and they fix it. And then they come out all shiny and waving their butt around, and they feel confident. And life gets better for them because they diagnosed their situation, recognized that it was it was a flat butt that was causing a lack of confidence. They got the coinage together and they fixed it, and now they're happy and life changes for them. I know that's a weird example that I just gave you, and I have no
But
idea
it's
where the
true.
flat butt example came from, but it's
It's
the
true.
same thing. And you can do the same thing, but you have to know, what is it that is causing your lack of confidence? What is it that is causing these negative thoughts to spiral? What is it that you're contributing to your stress, and is stress contributing to it? There's just so many things of self-diagnoses, and we as witches, we have so many tools to figure it out. We've got cards, we've got crystal balls, we've got tea leaves. If you can't figure it out for yourself, you can go to your cards, go to a card reader, call me, got a star, set up an appointment. We'll help you figure out what your problem is. But the thing is, figure it out so that you can get over that block and really move forward into manifesting what it is that you want. And so on that note, unless you wanted to add something to that, Goddess Star?
Well, I wanted to add to them that it was interesting what you said, that after diagnosing yourself and you figuring out what is it that you have wrong with yourself, one of the things that a lot of people do in their whole thing about that whole blame game of saying so and so cast a hex on me or whatever it is. So a lot of them have a tendency to do these spells, and some of them name names, some of them don't, and they say things like, to whomever is sending me these negative things or whatever it is, I send it all back to them. And then they find out that they were the ones that were doing some of it. So now they've cast another spell on themselves. It's like this whole vicious cycle that they're doing to themselves over and over and over. So you do have to be careful with all of that. Just a bit of warning with that, because people do that a lot.
Yes, they do. And I want to I want to say hi, Nate. We missed you. I'm glad
Yeah,
that
I said that. I was just like, I saw him. He came in. I was like, hi, Nate.
we're actually very grateful for all of the comments that you guys have made.
Yeah.
Because, it helps that. And I did want to just end with, because we've got Loyalty. Loyalty Makes You Family, who says, this is amazing. You're talking about stress. I've had a stressful week, but I didn't react how I usually do. I threw myself into building my business. Good for you.
Yes. All right.
Kudos. And
She
so,
took that stress and took it to the business. Yes.
good for you. That was an excellent way to handle that. And so, with all that said, we're hoping that these techniques and tips that we've given you are really going to help you to sit and self-diagnose what can be going on and what you may be contributing to the situation, so that you can at least fix. We can't control everything, but we can fix what goes on in here. That we can do. And this is where the most power that influences our own little personal realms, your own little home and things like that. We can fix that. We can get over these blocks if we just diagnose it, identify it, and then get rid of it. And then after that, you can do all your other stuff, you know, your candles and your blockbusters and things like that. But if we don't fix the true spell casting in here, then all of our candle work and spell work and things like that are not going to amount to the levels that we want them to, because we are putting out that work. We are canceling it out. And so if we fix the wand in here, then our outer wands are going to work better, because we are the wand. We are the magic. We are the power. The candles are accessories. So just, you know, we want to be careful with that. So with all that said, because I see we have really gone a little bit over. So
yeah.
Say, okay. Merry meet.
Merry meet. Merry part.
And merry
meet again. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys all had a blessed Mabon and autumn equinox.
Absolutely.
And as usual, Goddess Rhonda and I so appreciate all of you, and we love you. Mwah. Thank you.
We just love you to truth
it. Yeah.
And we thank you, and we will see you here again next week.
Next Monday. Yes. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone, and have a blessed week. Good night.
Yes. Good night.